TGIF, it's a Friday, the 27th day of September 2024. As we head into the weekend, it's going to be about aspen leaves, maybe spying a comet, and enjoying a lot of sunshine. As you can see by the photo there, colors are peaking. Depends on where you live, but this last few days of September into early October, usually the time to really get out and check them out. So the fair weather will continue. Nothing going on. We'll have a lot of sun. There'll be at times a little bit of cloudiness, a little bit of a breeze at times, but above average temperatures will continue. We do expect to maybe feel a little more like fall as we get into early next week. This will be especially the case for Montana, Wyoming, into the Dakotas, the northern plains, northern Rockies, especially east of the divide. A little bit of a cool down coming, but there won't be any precipitation with it. And then next week, we're going to be in what we call a zonal flow, west to east flow with the jet stream, which basically is going to mean more of the same. High pressure is going to weaken, but not to the point where, at least through next Friday, there's much of a change. But when you go into a zonal pattern where the jet stream goes more west to east, it's less curvy. Well, usually what happens after it's zonal, it gets curvy again. And that is going to lead to the changing weather that we hinted at yesterday. We dropped some hints about October looking a bit different, and we see that, and it's going to start as early as next weekend, the weekend after this one. But until then, still very quiet weather conditions. So just get out and check out those changing fall colors, no matter where you go. Since we haven't had a big fall storm yet, there's just a lot of leaves that haven't gotten blown off or pulled down from heavy snowfall yet. And you're going to continue to have these crystal clear sunrises, sunsets, just beautiful conditions. Also, the comet that we'll just call Comet A3 is beginning to show itself. Now, there is a comet in this photo. You got to be looking very, very carefully, but it did show up. Thanks to Jan Curtis for spying this yesterday morning. It's right here, and I'll zoom in to it right there. It's a little hard to see, but it's just kind of coming onto its own. It's very low on the horizon right now. You have to be right up and looking almost due east, a little southeast, to be able to see it. But the next few mornings, if you're up just around and just after sunrise, look low on the horizon. In fact, as I'll show you in a minute, it's so low it's right around 11 or 12 degrees at the latitude of the Central Rockies right now. But it's going to be getting brighter. It's gaining brightness by a half every day. And as it gets brighter, it might going to be easier to see. Now, there's a lot going on in this map, but this is for this morning. And this is for just before 7 a.m., basically just as the sun is coming up right here. You can see the comet is going to be just to the just off to the, let's say, the northeast of the sun. Look up to the right a little bit, and this is right around 12 degrees above the horizon, so it's very low. So you got to get around trees or buildings or ridges and everything to see it, and it's going to be very low on the horizon through the weekend. But you're going to have a chance to see it, maybe even with the naked eye, certainly with a camera. But you got to be up early. This is at 6:52 a.m., and this is going to be similar for tomorrow morning, for Sunday morning, and Monday morning as well. And as we mentioned yesterday, it's going to come back in the evening as we get into early October, and we'll talk about that next week. Well, the weather across the northern hemisphere, very quiet, except the remains of Helene now going into the southeastern United States. It's just going to be wet and stormy here all weekend, flooding, lots of problems there. While the central and western United States into California and the desert Southwest, we're going to just continue with our fair weather. So it's kind of messy here. This is the log jam. This will keep high pressure overhead through the weekend. There's your forecasted precipitation through Sunday. What you see here over Colorado and New Mexico is maybe a few high mountain sprinkles. That's it from the heat of the day. But it's severe clear everywhere else. Monday, we're going to start to see frontal systems come in from the Pacific a bit. Now, this system probably has very little or no moisture with it, at least for the U.S. But it will have a little bit of a cool front behind it. So as we get into Monday and Tuesday, it gets a little bit windy again, and Monday and Tuesday we will cool off. Here you can see the cooler air comes in along with it. So temperatures are going to back off a bit. So you're talking about temperatures into the 60s and lower 70s in those white and blue areas, still warm in those red areas there. But it's nothing to write home about. But as we get into the period of next week, a couple things to point out. Notice I talked about a zonal flow. The jet stream is going more west to east. This pattern, the west to east flow, is signaling that things eventually will change. We're starting to get a pretty good upper level low forming, a pocket of colder air aloft there in Hudson Bay. That's another signal of cooler weather to come. And we're also getting a lot more busy out here in the North Pacific. So it's going to be another week where there won't be much going on. But the zonal flow will make it a little more breezy, and there will be little pockets of cooler, little disturbances, little waves going right along the U.S.-Canadian border. And that will cause temperatures to fluctuate a little bit. But it's not a pattern that's going to bring any precipitation of any consequence. But after the flow gets straighter, it begins to buckle. And we're going to see that as we get into the weekend, next weekend. High pressure builds along the west coast. That allows winds aloft to come in from the northwest. So here's our change. Our first, what I would say, noticeable change. It's going to be next weekend. And the question will be, will this low come in a little bit further south and west, go a little bit more east? But what it will do is certainly cool it off in this region here. And there's probably going to be some rain and snow with this one. And maybe enough cold that temperatures are going to get below freezing in a few areas. But that's a week away, 7-8 days away. But things getting more wavy with the jet stream, and this wave will probably be followed by this wave a few days later. So things will get more busy as we go into the month of October. Have yourself a great weekend. We'll see you Monday.